Hey there, guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Packs discussion number 244, localized plurals and modernization progress. And I'm joined by Scarhoof, as always.
Hello, everyone.
So, this one is pretty technical, not super interesting. There's a few interesting
come on,
things.
localized plurals? Come on.
I mean,
you don't get more excited than that.
Yeah, dude, that's like the new best thing since sliced bread. So
we have no idea what we're talking about, do we?
No, not a clue. So new Python developer. This is written by Clonin. So mobile users may see the website is significantly easier to read today. That is thanks to our new Python developer, Sanki. Apart from making our website more mobile friendly, we have a lot of tasks on the backlog that we'll start working on soon. His first major task is to speed up and optimize a matching server. Thank God. That thing is so annoying sometimes. With which he is already making some progress. A bigger rewrite for the long term is underway, but in the last week, he had reduced a lot of slowness in timeouts people were seeing during peak times. He'll be taking over our database management and web administration from HanziQ, as well as spending time cleaning up our code base, maintaining our web services, and developing features for the mod portal. So the one thing that catches me about this is I wonder if like HanziQ is changing positions or if he's like leaving or something, because I believe HanziQ only worked there like part-time and he did the server browser and mod portal. So if that's being taken over, I'm kind of curious what he's going to be doing. But yeah, I hope he doesn't leave. Really cool guy. But yeah, so great to know that that stuff is being worked on. I did notice like through all the browsing of the server thing when I was doing the Factorio thing that it gets really annoying sometimes. Like it will just randomly time out and such. So I'm really glad that's being improved. So then plural form localizations. So plural localizations are needed here and there in Factorio. So they need it when time is specified. It can either be 1 minute 5 seconds or 5 minutes 1 second. So there needs to be some system to select the correct way. So essentially languages are different and you got to handle plurals differently is a summary of all that.
Yeah.
Like the Czech people, have a different kind of plural for count 2, 3, 4 than other plurals. So like minute English, minute 1 is minute 2 to 4 is minutes, and minute 5 plus is minutes. So it's like, for us, it's like the same thing once you get past 1.
Yeah. Yeah, those would be the equivalent of like 1, a handful, a few.
Right.
Many, yeah.
Whereas the Czech actually have like an actual different word for 1, 2 to 4, and then for 5 plus, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, so that's what you just said, like a handful, a few, so on and so forth. So they discovered that there are other languages than English and Czech, and plural possibilities in other languages are not as simple as English-only speakers tend to think. So there's a link here you can click if you want. For reference, here's a sum of common plural forms, which you can check out. This made it clear that having different translation keys for every possible form for every language would be too crazy, so we invented something more generic. At 17, the translation of X minute, the number is now included in the translation to allow to put it on a different position or to add some other word somewhere. Will look like this. Okay, I think
it's riveting.
Yeah.
All I know is this is the most magical thing I've seen all year.
Yeah, dude. Like I'm just looking at this and I'm like, oh, I don't really know what this is, but I'm glad it's gonna work.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. I'm sure. You've seen those translations of like Chinese, like instructions or whatever, and like electronics that you might buy, they're just their translation to English is just not right. It's really close, and you know what they're saying, but it's just not the right way of saying it. I'm sure that's the same way here.
Yeah.
So it's nice that some people other than us are getting their localizations taken care of. So it sounds correct.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because there's a lot more people obviously than Americans who play this. So so this is kind of, for me, the more interesting part is progress on engine modernization. So the engine the game actually runs on. And this is by Posila. The rewrite of the rendering framework goes well. We are at the point where the game looks exactly the same with minor fixes to line rendering as our main 17 branch, and the only major thing that is missing is proper error handling. For example, we don't want the game to terminate if a screenshot command fails for whatever reason. I was surprised at how many things we had to rewrite, but we took our time, and I think it is already worth it. The game rendering performed significantly better, well, at least on CPU side of pipeline for now. More on that in some future Friday Facts, in both OpenGL and DirectX.
Yeah, now, before we had started recording, I had mentioned that the FPS and the UPS in these screenshots is really high.
Right.
Which makes me wonder, is this... I guess the first question is, are both of these screenshots, is one in like 1.16 and the other one's in... or is the first in 0.16, the other one's in 0.17? So I'm not seeing anything inside of the screenshot that would tell us what version they're running.
No.
But what got me the most was the FPS and the UPS seem really high. Normally when I'm running my game, it pretty much caps out at 60, right?
Right. And I had mentioned then that the only way I know of to get it above that is to increase your game speed.
Yeah, but these are also not in multiples of like 60 here.
Right. So I'm not really sure. I mean, maybe it says down below, but I don't think so.
Yeah, my hope is that this is going to be similar to like Minecraft, where the FPS can be much higher than 60, but when the game dips, because it spikes up and down, sometimes it needs to do a bunch of number crunching, and so maybe it'll dip from that 206 down to 140, meaning your game will always stay over 60 FPS and 60 UPS, which is arguably more important, right, for game performance.
Right.
So that would be interesting. Hopefully we can get more information on this.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, since this just a side note kind of thing, since this Friday Facts is more technical, one of my awesome patrons, Afflixion, who's done this before, wrote like a kind of a summary. So he says, in regards to this part, that render performance is significantly improved with the new engine at 3 milliseconds versus 1.6 milliseconds.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's maybe corresponding to these screenshots, because I would assume that the one, because the lower that your UPS is, that's like the higher milliseconds you're at, kind of.
Okay.
So like below 16.6 milliseconds or above 16.6 milliseconds is when you drop below 60 FPS.
Right.
So the fact I would, based on his summary and stuff, I would assume the one on the left is probably like the old engine. And then the one on the right is a new one, because they're at a higher UPS, or no, they are at the same UPS or at a higher FPS, but that's the rendering. So
yeah, right there in the center you can see that. So if that is if that's milliseconds, so this render took 3 milliseconds versus 1.6 milliseconds, which is almost a 50% increase. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. So speaking of which, some people are wondering why do we even bother with DirectX and not just use OpenGL everywhere? The reason is Windows is still the main OS for the PC gaming, and for some reason, we can't squeeze as much performance from OpenGL as we can from DirectX. We are seeing about 30% more spent in calls to OGL as opposed to D3D. It also seems the OpenGL driver quality is all over the place. We already ran into the problem where our first implementation of building sprites atlases worked great on Windows and Mac OS, but was so inefficient on Linux it took over half an hour for the game to load.
Ouch.
Oh my god. Can you imagine? That's like ridiculous.
So
there's huge performance differences between Windows, Mac OS, and then Linux for OpenGL. Focusing on older graphic APIs first due to players having older hardware, which makes sense, I guess. Is kind of, I think, what we're getting into in this next paragraph. I'm just reading my summary. And they want to target newer APIs in the future. So like DirectX 12, Vulkan, and Metal, which seems to be just pretty much this entire last paragraph.
Yeah.
They say we'll still leave 1% of players behind, so they're going to be stuck with 0.16, similar to when we dropped 32-bit support, but everybody else should benefit from better performance and hopefully a better looking game eventually.
Awesome.
So
yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, more improvements is definitely great. I mean, for, like you said, for game performance, like UPS for a lot of people is more important, like for me, but I know there are people who do struggle with FPS, especially if you're one of those people who builds like massive gargantuan bot networks with like 50,000 robots in them. But so what I'm getting at is this FPS improvement is definitely a really good thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And especially for people on very low end hardware too. It'll help them significantly as well.
Right, because I think what people may not think about is Factorio, like not FPS, but like UPS wise, can run on very poor hardware. Like unless you're building a huge base, right? That's one of the great things about it. It can run on like a 10-year-old laptop.
Yep.
But the problem is graphically wise, especially with some new high res graphics, it may not be able to. So these improvements can kind of maybe even that out a bit, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. So pretty short, not like super thrilling, but definitely some good news for sure. Hopefully,
that's right. Localized plurals is the most just amazing thing.
Amazing thing ever, man. I mean, seriously, I would take this over like sliced bread, any day.
New types of inserters. Who cares?
New types of inserters.
That's right.
But yeah, hopefully, like in the near future, Friday Facts will get some more, little more juicy info on 017 and stuff like that. Maybe a timeline. Cough, cough, would be nice. But I think that's gonna do it. I think we've had enough messing around here. Do you have any other thoughts?
Nope, nothing else.
All right, that's gonna do it, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts down below. And until next time, we will see you later.